one of the most popular venues we come to all of the season for the One-Up Superstar Series. It is in scenic upstate New York. It is Watkins Glen International for race number 17 of the 2025 season for the Superstar Series, and boy, are you in for a treat this time around. For 32 laps, these guys will take on the twists and turns of Watkins Glen, and I have a feeling it's going to be a thrill ride no matter what shit transpires for the remainder of the afternoon. And alongside me to bring you all the action for today's race is Jacob Crago with us once again after a few weeks away. Great to have you back with us. There's just something about Watkins Glen that is a little bit different from all the road courses that have come before and the ones that will come after. It's fast, it's flowing, there's a lot of good passing opportunities here, and it's one that the drivers in particular seem to like a lot.
Certainly. I mean, it's a beautiful facility, nice forested area surrounding us, much like how it was when we were racing back in Finland. But yeah, it's a very historic course, a lot of racing history here as well. And you wouldn't really think that from a small town in upstate New York, but then again, there are a lot of tracks in the United States in, smaller rural areas. And yeah, this 11-turn course certainly is one that provides a lot of excitement. Got good passing opportunities down in turns 1 and 5. The outer loop, turn 9, that could provide a lot of passing, or like definitely provide a bit of a passing opportunity down in turn 10. You can get a good slingshot out of there. But yeah, it's going to be a good race today. I can't wait to get this thing underway.
And with that being said, the points battle is certainly worth keeping an eye on as well, because there's only 4 races remaining in the race for the playoffs, 3 after this race concludes here today. And the cut line, it's as close as it ever was. Zayden Davidson only 1 point above the cut line as it stands right now. Henry Thomas 1 point out. Those two are going to have their work cut out for him. Stephen Gale has vaulted himself into contention, only 7 points out. And Dylan Young only 5 points above. Those 4 are going to be battling. I imagine all the guys above and below, they're going to be battling for every position they can get. It's just a tight battle, and there's not that many opportunities left to do something about it.
Yeah, I mean, we saw last week there was a couple of guys that had heavy hits in their points because of wreck going in turn 3. And a couple of them were our cutoff guys as well. I believe Ryan Griffin was one of them. So you got to really stay out of trouble in here if you want to have a shot at getting into the playoffs. And you said it, only 1 point difference either side of the cut line between Davidson and Thomas. It should be quite the battle to see who can secure a spot in the playoffs. I mean, we've already got some people who are effectively on lock. I mean, at the top of the points, you got Mashburn, Sanders, McDonald as well. But even then, it's still 3 races. It's not a full lock just yet. We will be probably after a couple of races here. But like you said, 3 races until playoffs. It is crunch time.
It certainly is, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see which drivers make the 15-man chase and who will have to wait for another opportunity to do it all over again. As we can now bring you the starting lineup for tonight's 32 laps of action at the Glen, and 2 guys on the front row who are quite new to this sensation. Zachary DeLello, finally, after so many times trying, gets his first career pole in the Superstar Series. Rasha Mahendra alongside him with a career best start alongside him as well. Mark Davey, always a threat on the road courses, but running out of opportunities to win on one in his final season. He lines up 3rd. Jake McMillan, he's proven to be a contender all throughout the weekend. He won the truck race on Friday. He lines up in the 4th position, with Devin Fair completing the top 5. But the biggest story we're going to be looking at today is I honestly thought that when we said goodbye to him in 2022, that would have been the end of Stephen Hunter's time in one-up competition. But sure enough, the wily old campaigner is back for more, and he is going to be driving the 31 for Crossroads Racing today, starting out back in 26th place. It's going to be a lot to knock the rust off, but I imagine that there's anyone who can do it, he's the one who can.
Yeah, and he even came in at expensive a couple of other drivers that were knocked off the board. Some big names. You got Brantley Gage, who failed to qualify. Nicky Martinez failed to qualify as well. Stanley Andrews and Ludwig Charette, both of Hunter's teammates, also failed to qualify, as did Nomina and Breeding, all failing to qualify for this race, which any one of those guys, big shocks here, but that just shows just how competitive this field is when some of the bigger names can still fail to qualify if they're in that position to, or if they're in that kind of not great position of being 31st or worse in terms of owner's points. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Stephen Hunter can work his way up through the field, if he can work his way up through the field. But yeah, getting back to DeLello for a moment, like, he really needs his pulse. He really needs the pull today. Like, 21 points out of the cut line for the playoffs, and he's got a couple of guys ahead of him that are starting a little bit deeper in the field, so he's in great position right now to make up those points to try and work his way into the playoffs. So great start for him today. We'll see if he can translate that into a win, or at least maybe a top 5 at worst.
So with that being said, we've got 42 drivers ready to take on Watkins Glen, and we're ready to bring you that action now. It is the 1UP Superstar Series, race number 17 of the year, and the green flag is getting set to get this great race underway. So stay tuned, folks. You're not going to want to miss a second of what's to come in the next 32 laps. Getting set for the green flag here at Watkins Glen. It is DeLello on the inside lane, Rasha Mahendra on the outside. Two guys who have making their career best starts here today, leading us to the green flag. A pair of Toyotas heading into the zone. The green flag is in the air, and for 32 laps, we're underway at Watkins Glen, and DeLello gets a great launch off the line. He's already clear of the 42 as the field barrels off into turn 1 for the first of 32 times this afternoon. It looks pretty even for the most part of this race, or the first part of this field, and everybody's through clean.
Yeah, DeLello really was able to get the jump on the start there, able to get to the preferred racing line, which was the line that Mahendra was in. So, and now it looks like Davey is going to take a look to the inside here as they head down into a bus stop. Side by side, Davey edging out just ever so slightly ahead. He's going to have the advantage, though, with the inside lane. He's going to take the lead heading through turn 9. That is the outer loop. Meanwhile, side by side, Devin Fair and Mahendra back there for third.
How about that? From third on the grid, Mark Davey to the lead in just half a lap. Barrels it off into the penultimate corner with Zachary DeLello in hot pursuit. Mahendra falls to third. Devin Fair has jumped past Jake McMillan to move up into the 4th position. And the field makes its way for the final turn to complete the first lap. Looks like the JHM car is bringing up the rear of the field, but at the front, it is Zachary DeLello trying to take the lead back from Mark Davey, who leads the opening lap.
Yeah, and really great
run contact further back in the field. Further back in the field, Emma Kruger with some damage. Stephen Gale. Oh, and is that Stephen Hunter in the 31 with a crunched up front end? Sure enough, it is. And the grand return of Stephen Hunter. He's gotten caught up in a big collision on lap number 2. Could this be terminal for the former champion?
I don't know. He's been able to drive away from it, as is Stephen Gale. Of course, Stephen Gale went into this race 7 points out of that cut line. It's going to be a lot larger of a gap here. That is what DeLello needs, considering he was 14 points back from Stephen Gale. So that is definitely going to help DeLello out. Might even help Ryan Griffin out a little bit, considering Griffin was 35 points out from the cut line as well. But definitely not what Gale or Hunter or even Julio Cesar, who was also involved with that, needed. Because Julio Cesar only 37 points above the cut line. So now we see DeLello and Fair were side by side coming off of turn 11 there.
Yeah, so Devin Fair gained 2 spots in 1 lap there, up to second place. But Emma Kruger peels off to the pit lane. Stephen Hunter is joining her there, as is, looks like Julio Cesar following the 31 into the pit lane as DeLello and Mahendra once again battle. For this time for the 3rd position, as Fair right onto the back bumper of Mark Davey. We're curious to see if any of these guys in the pit lane will be able to continue or not. Looks like a few of them will, but Stephen Hunter will not. The grand return of Stephen Hunter to the 1UP Superstar Series is over after just a lap.
Yeah, tough break for him. It's just been, and that's basically been the story of Crossroads Racing, at least in Superstar, all season long. So I don't know what else to say about that. Tough break for all those guys involved there. But hey, he's back in the 31 next week, I believe. So there's always the next race. But that will definitely not hurt, or that will definitely not help their chances, excuse me, for being able to try and turn their season around. As I believe Fair led the lap, he will. As we see, I believe that was Stephen Gill exiting pit road. He's not going to go a lap down, but he's going to be definitely off the pace as he's, I think, midway up the S's right now as the leaders just now
We got
enter
another
them.
spin
And we see Echo everywhere.
Ooh, big impact.
Bubba Jones.
Can anything go right for Bobo Jones in 2025? And this is another case of just horrendous luck for that 58 team, colliding into the side of the 39 of Echo Evans Ross. And here you can definitely see terminal damage on this 58 car, smoke pouring out of the back. This is just, like you said, it was the story of Crossroads racing season. This is been the story of Bobo Jones and the 58 team and their season. Stuff completely out of their control, but in the end, it's going to cost them a decent finish.
Yeah, I was about to mention, didn't look like anywhere Bobo Jones could go. It looks like he was in the middle of a 3-wide situation as Fair and Davey continue to pull away. DeLello kind of stuck in the middle there as we see McMillan and Mahindra battle side by side. Therefore, I believe that is the 4th position.
But as they cross the line to complete lap number 4, it is Devin Fair from 5th on the grid. He didn't take him too long to get up to the front as Bobo Jones, man, he is still limping his way back to the pits. I worry that the leaders may catch him before he even gets there. That is how slow that 58 car is going. And even if the officials black flagged him, the outcome would still be the same. So the field now coming up through the S's onto the back straightaway. The 51 and the 11, a league of their own ahead of the field.
Yeah, and you have to wonder if Bobo Jones' car is maybe dropping any fluids on the racetrack as well. That's going to definitely cause some issues for these guys as they start to slip and slide, if that is the case. It'll be interesting to see if that is the case, though, as there you see Bobo Jones' car off to the left side, off of the racing line, thankfully, although some of the field will catch Bobo Jones, and that is going to cause some issue here. Yeah, the leader's able to clear, but DeLello is going to only just barely.
Oh, when Bobo's crossing in front of the field, this is going to that's treacherous for sure. And he's going to grab him. Oh, and he makes contact with Teskar, who goes sliding off at the final corner and into the barriers. Very unfortunate circumstances for Kale.
Oh, I please, I saw someone else come off.
Oh, man. And that's not going to be received well by one-up officials. They may take some action against that 58 car for merging unsafely. We'll have to wait till the end of the race to find that out. But that has knocked Teskar down at least 20 positions. Chase Christ now into the pit lane.
I don't think Chris entered pit lane voluntarily. I think he got turned a little bit in the kerfuffle there.
Yeah, he did a stop and go. That makes me think you're right. He just did a stop and go and went on his way, so he might have been forced down there.
Yeah, great luck for Chase Chris not to have any damage from all that. Just a incidental trip down pit road. However, that is going to hurt him in the long run because that was just a stop and go. He's going to need to make a pit stop, I would assume.
Yeah, he definitely will. Race. And that's just a tough break for Chase Christ. He entered this race 45 points to the good on the cut line, so he probably will be okay to stay there for now, but that's still not ideal for him. He started this race in 20th, and that's not going to get a lot better. Meanwhile, Jake McMillan has gotten past both Mahindra and DeLello to move up into the 3rd position, so both our front row starters today have now fallen 3 spots each in the running order.
Yeah, not the greatest of starts to a race, but not terrible either. They're still both in the top 5. They've got a gap now back to 6th place, who is Zachary Fitzwater, thanks to Bobo Jones. So they got a little bit of breathing room to try and recuperate, maybe just settle into a rhythm here. And just, kind of just be at the tail end of this top 5 train, maybe even try and figure out a way maybe to get back up closer to that front. Although it is all Devin Fair right now. He is pulling away from Mark Davey in that 11 car.
Yeah, Devin's got to be loving this. He's had a rough go of it the last few races, and this will do really good for him to get him back to where he wants to be. He has a win this season. It came at Hillside, but he only led 1 lap that day, and he only led a combined 8 laps the entire season up to this point. He's, of course, adding to that total right now. But Devin Fair, this is a bit of an out of character season compared to what we expect from him. But this is more like the Devin Fair we know, and he's got about a second lead now over the 11, who's quickly being caught by the 24 of McMillan.
You have to wonder, maybe part of that is also maybe Fair is not receiving priority on equipment, because he did announce earlier this season he is moving away from Revolution Racing.
One does hear rumors, but hopefully that's not the case, and Revolution gives everybody the best they can get, as Cale Tescar Jr. does make a pit stop here to try and assess some of the damage he sustained with that collision with Bobo Jones. That is not what Cale was hoping for. Yes, he entered this race 67 points above the cut line. That's still not ideal, though, in any circumstance. He was hoping for a good day, and because of the rogue actions of a slow car, he's probably not going to get it.
Yeah, it's a very long repair time on the right side of that, or excuse me, left side of that car. So definitely not what he wants, as he is going to go a lap down here to his teammate and a good chunk of the rest of the field. As the field, actually, speaking of which, is not quickly catching Stephen Gale like I initially thought. Stephen Gale able to at least keep ahead of the leaders, even though they are, I believe, still catching him, just not as quickly as I would have expected.
But they are catching him. It's just taking a little longer than perhaps we expected with that level of damage on the 52. But for now, Devin Fair leads the charge into the bus stop once again. Davey and McMillan, 2nd and 3rd. Mahendra and Dolello, 5th and 4th. And going a little further back, we're just checking in on the rest of the field, see where your favorite driver is running at lap 9 of this race. But everybody's still running, well, 2 cars out of the race, Stephen Hunter and Bobo Jones, due to crash damage. But the other 40 are all still on the track. 39 of them are on the lead, well, 38 once we account for Cale Tescar Jr., but 38 cars on the lead lap. And so far, I think the top 10 is getting strung out quite quickly.
Well, road course racing is known for getting strung out a little bit here and there, depending on the track, as we see McMillan now trying to make a move for 2nd on Davey. He's got the inside lane, but Davey's got the traction on that outside lane, off of the curbs and down into the S's. Davey's going to hold off McMillan.
Yeah, and McMillan was hoping for a weekend sweep here at Watkins Glen. He entered all 3 of these races, of course. He won the truck race, had a really good day in the Nitro race, of course, and he's doing pretty solidly today. Started 4th, and he's up to 3rd now, and he's pretty much all but confirmed he is coming back to this series full-time in 2026, and I'm very curious to see who joins him at that team. We expect maybe Keon Daly to be back. The big question is, will Devin Fair jump ship and go to JHM like is expected?
Well, it'll be interesting to see how the pieces fall in that regard for JHM, as the Devin Fair has now caught Stephen Gale now. So we can see if Davey and McMillan can now try and catch that 51 here, if Fair isn't able to get around Gale immediately.
And let's not forget, Emma Kruger is not that far up the road either, so it's going to be 2 lap cars for these guys to have to navigate. And going up the S's is not a really good place to catch lap traffic here at Watkins Glen. There's not a lot of good places to catch lap traffic, but yeah, so...
Although Fair probably has caught Gale at the best possible time, and that is right at the exit of the S's and down this long back straightaway into the inner loop, or the bus stop chicane, whichever one you want to call it. As now Fair clear of Gale, that's going to put him a lap down. And speaking of Emma Kruger, something to point out, she also was only 19 points above the cut line going into this. So her being caught up in all the kerfuffle, the wrecks, I believe on lap 2, I believe that's the one she was involved in. That's also going to hurt her in her bid to try and stay above that cut line.
Yeah, it's not been a good day for those on the bubble. It's been a good day for some, but not for others. As Devin Fair powers off the final corner to complete lap 11 in the lead of this race. Mark Davey will try and follow him past this 52, but I think Davey's going to catch the 52 at the exact wrong spot. Again, out of turn 1 and going up into the S's, not ideal, and that could allow the likes of the 24, the 08, the 42 to get right back on it.
Yeah, I mean, the S is really just dirty air city when it comes to not being able to really be able to make a move on somebody. But thankfully, it exits right onto a long straightaway that if you get the power down at the right time, you can get alongside and pass somebody like we just saw with Mark Davey getting around Stephen Gale. McMillan, though, catching Gale right at the worst possible time. That's in the middle of the bus stop. Now they run through turn 9. Let's see if Davey can pull away from McMillan and Stephen Gale here. Try to run down 51 and Devon Fair.
Well, we're going to find out, aren't we? Because these guys, they've caught lap traffic at some interesting places. It's not really ideal, but these guys will make it work. They're the best in the business for a reason. And as we come out for the final corner now to complete lap 12, it is still Devon Fair in the lead. We're coming up on 20 laps to go. There's a lot of racing still to be had, and a pit stop still to be had. But these guys have got to be thinking about the long game, trying to close up to that 51 as best they can.
Yes, we see now McMillan go side by side with Gale in turn 1. That's going to be side by side through the S's. That's going to allow Davey to pull away just a little bit. Or maybe not, as McMillan just clears Gale completely in the middle of the S's. Figured there would have been a little bit more side by side action there. But yeah, with us nearing halfway, you got to think that they are very much near a potential pit stop here within the next few laps.
I would say so, for sure, because once you get past lap 16 into lap 17, you know you can make it to the end. So I'd think around then, maybe lap 18 to 20, these guys would think about peeling off for pit road, because their lap times are hurting a little bit. They started this race in the high 1 minute 9s, but now they're in the mid 1 minute 10s to 1 minute 11s. It's not... This place is pretty tough on tires, but I have a feeling they're gonna feel the benefit of fresh ones pretty much as soon as they pull out of the pit lane.
Yep. Although something I have noticed is that with the leaders trying to get around Stephen Gale, they've all kind of spread out a little bit considerably, and that's allowed Fitzwater, Mashburn, and Denoto to really catch them.
Yeah, those guys
so
are
this
all
is
kind
quickly
of
becoming a 8-car battle basically for this lead pack.
Yeah, Fitzwater, Mashburn, and Denoto, they're in kind of their own private battle for 6th, 7th, and 8th place. But yeah, you can see now Emma Kruger is getting caught in a pretty big hurry by these leaders. And I would expect her to put up a little bit of a fight here to try and stay on this lead lap. Echo Evans-Ross very much off the pace in the 39. They're probably going to catch the 39 in a relatively short order as well.
Yeah, of course not the day that either of them wanted to have, but that's just racing. You know, you're going to have bad days, you're going to have off days, and you're going to have good days, and you're going to have winning days. Right now, you're kind of seeing both sides of that same coin, where Kruger is having a bad day, but Fair is having a winning day. Although he is having a little trouble trying to get around that 70. Kruger definitely fighting to try and stay on the lead lap here.
Yeah, but I think she's going to realize at some point that this is a losing battle and probably give way to Devon going up into the S's, which she does. But I would expect her to put up a lot less of a fight with these guys behind, because because the battle with Fair was to stay on the lead lap. These guys, they really don't have anything she needs to fight for. And sure enough, Emma holds her line, Davey pulls down to the inside, and he and McMillan should be able to make this pass pretty smoothly, and, well, not quite, but Davey should be able to complete it through the carousel.
I think McMillan actually kind of compromised Mark Davey there a little bit, because it looks like McMillan is trying to shoot the gap in the middle between the 70 and the 11, but there just was no gap, and that really compromised Davey's run off of turn 9, and here we go in turn 10 now side by side for second place. McMillan trying to take the spot from Mark Davey, all while still behind the 70 Emma Kruger. But all this is just allowing Devon Fair to pull away, and having the 08 of DeLello and the 42 Mahindra just close back in to make this a 4-car fight for second.
And that fight has been settled in favor for now, in the favor of Jake McMillan, who powers past Mark Davey, move himself up into second place. So now he's going to have to get past Emma Kruger as well, as is the 11 of Mark Davey. And you're right, DeLello and Mahindra are closing in on this battle. It is now 4 cars pretty much under a blanket for the second position as Devin Fair just pulls further and further up the road.
Yeah, and you see McMillan now looking to the inside, trying to get side by side with Emma Kruger. But Kruger got into the grass a little bit.
Jumped the curb on that one. That is interesting to say the least, but she was able to keep it on the road at least, which is very nice, which is a positive for that 70. She just can't afford anything worse to happen today.
Yeah, but crucially, that caused both the 11 and the 24 to have to jump off the gas to avoid any unnecessary contact there, and that's kept McMillan basically side by side with the 70 throughout the entirety of the final half of the lap, basically. Meanwhile, we see now Kruger's teammate Ego Evans-Roscoe a lap down.
And that
I believe they're teammates.
Yes, and that 39 car is a lot more off pace than Emma Kruger is, so that is going to be a roadblock for these guys to try and navigate. McMillan and Davey are past the 70. Now DeLello and Mahendra are going to try and do the same move. But we are past halfway in this race. We can make it to the end from here on fuel and tires, so would expect these guys... Whoa, here we go. We got a 3-wide situation potentially going into the bus stop. Whoa, DeLello is leaning on Kruger going into the bus stop. He sends her off the road. Oh, and we got more coming off track as well. Mashburn. Oh, McDonald piles in. Denoto piles in. We got Zayden Davidson off the track. Ryan Griffin. There's got to be something down there on that bus stop. James Ellison off the track as well. My goodness, at least half a dozen cars have gone off there.
Yeah, very big incident, and yeah, just a lot of trouble for a lot of guys there. Oh, and Denoto right on the hood of
McDonald. This is going to take a while to sort out for sure, and there has got to be something down there on the bus stop because Chase Chris just went wide. Oh, and he plows into the side of Sam Denoto. That is most definitely going to end the day for the 46, and there's got to be something going on down at the bus stop because there were so many cars sliding wide there.
Yeah, I don't know what was all that, unless it was something on the surface back from when Bubba Jones was running down there, and they just got caught up in that going over the curb there in turn 5, and that's what sent everybody around.
And meanwhile, pit stops have begun. Mark Davey was the first of the leaders to come down. But you see here, Miles Mashburn with a lot of damage. He entered this race as the points leader, remember, and he wants that regular season championship. This is going to put a dent into that aspiration, at least for now. Ben McDonald pulls it down pit road. A lot of cars with damage, and here comes your race leader, Devin Fair. He knows when to pull it in, and that's right now.
Yeah, I think a lot of people saw that and was like, nope, we're done. Time to make the pit stop. And, yeah, a lot of people now held up behind Chase Chris, who's just trying to limp it back to pit road. Terminal damage, I believe that's going to be on that 46. And we do have some people staying out.
Yeah, Henry Thomas is the first of the lead lap cars to stay on the racetrack, and he'll try and get a bonus point for leading a lap, and honestly, he might as well try it because he was only 1 point out to begin with, and with Zayden Davidson having the issues that he had in that mess down at the bus stop, Thomas could do with a few bonus points here.
Yeah, and if he's able to actually get that bonus point led, that will definitely help him because, well, as we've seen throughout the entire season so far, 1 or 2 points can help you in the long run.
It can make all the difference.
Even if it only seems like, even if it just seems like a short-term gain. Ooh, look at this. Fitzwater is actually going to jump Mahendra off the pit stop.
Yeah, Fitzwater was one of the early pit stoppers, and he is going to jump a lot of people doing that. Jeffrey Finguy, I think, was one of those guys. Cody Goforth in the 64 was one of those early stoppers, and he jumped about 20 people doing that.
Yeah, he really needs it after a disqualification, a failed qualified at Indianapolis.
Meanwhile, you got all these cars with damage back here. Denoto still in the pit lane, assessing his damage. Thomas does get a bonus point for leading that lap. Critically, he stayed out for another lap, so he must have a lot more fuel in that car than we were led to believe at first.
Or maybe he's hoping that he can pit later, have the freshest tires of everybody, and hope that fresh rubber, even if it's a lap or two older, it's going to be able to help him charge up through the field. Let's see here what he does this time by.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to stay out there forever. That much we know. But he's doing himself a lot of good here, getting bonus points, leading laps. He's doing what he needs to do to keep his title hopes alive. Remember, there's only 3 races remaining in the regular season after this one. This is going to be the battle for the lead once Thomas pits between Devin Fair and Mark Davey. Davey got the early jump on pit road, and that has caught him right back up to Devin Fair as Fitzwater clears McMillan. That's for 3rd place.
Yeah, as we see Henry Thomas now come down pit road, and that's going to basically end the cycle at this point, aside from the people who received damage early on in this race who still need to pit to make it to the end. But yeah, and Davey really on that back bumper of 51. So great pit stop for Davey's crew there.
As Thomas pulls into his pit box, these guys are easily going to clear him. But Fitzwater, he pitted early, and that has really given him an advantage. He's jumped Mahendra, he's jumped DeLillo, he's jumped McMillan. That 59's on pace for a podium here, if he can hold off that 24 for long enough.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's going to. McMillan's been fast, basically in every single start he's been in. And although Fitzwater got the drive off of turn 1 there, McMillan's going to have the preferred line here, at least for turns 2 and 4. It's a pretty even battle, though, between the 59 and 24, though. They charge down onto the back straightaway.
And meanwhile, Mark Davey has just glued himself to the back bumper of Devin Fair, trying to find an opening to get that race lead. But these two going side by side once again for the bus stop, and it looks like everybody's making it through cleanly now. Whatever issue was there a few laps ago seems to have sorted itself out now, which is good. We like to see these cars on the track as much as they possibly can be. But we got pretty much a pair of 2-car battles for position here. We got these two battling for the lead. We got Fitzwater and McMillan battling for 3rd, and then Mahendra is pretty much all by himself. Once he cycles out, he'll be in 5th place.
Yeah, it's a very close battle for the lead. Of course, you mentioned Mahendra effectively being by himself in P5. I don't know what happened to DeLillo in the pit stop cycle there.
Well, because
I don't even see him in the top 10 after they all crossed.
Well, this is the fastest lap leaderboard, which Patrick Smith now has. Great run for the 22, but DeLillo has fallen down to the 6th position, 9.3 seconds off the lead. It's still going to be a decent day if he can finish in the top 10. Probably not what he was hoping for. There is Patrick Smith. He's got the fastest lap of the race. He's currently riding in about 12th position. Took it off Eric Monaco, who had a good hit on his own. Henry Thomas, there he is. He stayed out long enough, and he has cycled out into 20th position.
Not as far up the order as he was probably hoping, but
he is ahead of Zayden Davidson, though.
Yeah, and he has the fresher rubber out of anybody at the moment as well. So definitely in the catbird seat as far as trying to earn a lot of points. See, now McMillan still has not gotten around to Fitzwater. A little bit surprising, actually. It's allowed Mahendra to actually kind of close in on these two as McMillan once again looks to the inside here, heading down towards turn 1.
And we only have 10 laps to go in this race, remember. There's not a lot of time left for moves to be made. McMillan now sends one up the inside of Fitzwater through turn 1, going up the S's. This should be a fairly cut-and-dried pass here, and sure enough, Fitzwater does give way to McMillan now. But he's going to have a lot of work to do to catch these two. He is about 5 seconds off this lead battle, and if these two have it coming together and take each other out of contention, that could open the door wide open for a new face.
Never say never. We have seen it before during this season where the leaders have had issues, so it'll be interesting. Like obviously you don't want the leaders to wreck because you do want to see a good fight for the win. But at the same time, it's like I'm kind of hoping there's a little bit of action, a little bit of fireworks going on.
Well, we had a lot of action at the bus. We had a lot of action at the bus stop earlier, for what it's worth. But you're right, Devin Fair, he was pulling away for a little bit, but Mark Davey actually had the quicker lap of the two that last time by. He closed in by a couple hundredths, and I think this 11 is going to keep the 51 honest for at least a few more laps.
Yeah, but the more you keep the 51 honest, the more in turn they keep you honest as well. Because it's a little bit of exchange there. You got to stay honest to keep them honest in a way. So it'll that battle is definitely going to be one to watch as we take a look further back. Cody Goforth holding down P10 just ahead of, I believe it's 22 of Patrick Smith.
Yeah, and Goforth started this race down in 32nd, and he's on pace now for his first top 10 finish of the season. And if you had asked him where that would have come, the last place he probably would have told you would be on a road course. But he's doing a really solid job. He pitted early to gain some track position, and he's holding on to it quite nicely.
Yeah, he probably would have said he probably would have won Homestead, and that would have been his first top 10 of the season. But yeah, we all know going to go forth at Homestead. But yeah, going back to battle here, Ferris pulling away ever so slightly from Davey that time by. I think he had the faster lap.
A little bit, yeah. But I expect Mark Davey is not going to go down without a fight. He has said time and time again, he loves these road courses. He feels it's his best opportunity to win races. And can you really blame him for that? And this is his last season in the game. After this race, he only has one more road course that he can go win at, and that's at the Denver road course later on in the season. So this is as good an opportunity as he's going to get. He is not going to go down without a fight.
Yeah, and I noticed you flashed to the fastest lap leaderboard there for a moment. Speaking of retirement seasons, that is Dylan Young now having the fastest lap. Took it away from his teammate Patrick Smith.
Yeah, they're showing they still got it, at least. They got what it takes to run up front, do consistently well. As Denotev's back out on track a couple laps down, Cale Tescott Jr. still out there cycling laps. This basically turns into a big test session for those guys, just trying to salvage whatever positions they can get. But we're closing in on the end of this race fairly quickly. Devin Fair still holds a solid lead, although it did go down by about a tenth on that lap. Mark Davey is not letting this go.
Yeah, and any driver wants to win in their final season, especially when opportunities to win are being clicked off left, right, and center like they are for Davey and Dylan Young. And you said it, Mark Davey really loves these road courses. Watkins Glen definitely would be a big one to win on with as popular as this race is.
And I believe he actually has a Nitro National Series win here, so he's no stranger to success on the road courses and anything, really. But Mark Davey, he's running out of time, running out of laps. We're coming up on 6 laps to go this time. And unless my eyes are deceiving me, Jake McMillan has actually started to pick up the pace a little bit. He has pulled Fitzwater and Mahendra along. They're closing the gap a little bit, but it's not going to be enough to catch them out front.
Well, we'll see what the gap is here. It's 4.5 last time by, with only like a quarter second between Fair and the 11. Makes that half a second between the two.
And McMillan gained half a second as well.
Yeah. In fact, Fitzwater now just within 5 seconds of the leaders.
That's probably still not going to be enough, but if you keep it up, and if those two start fighting up ahead, just never say never in this race, because you really don't know what's going to happen at Watkins Glen until the checkered flag flies.
Yeah, the thing is, though, is I think Fair would have to make a mistake, or Davey would have to start pulling out all the stops here in order to try and reel back in that 51 for them to start fighting here. I don't know if Davey's just falling off or if he's just trying to save his stuff, try and make one last gasp here. But they're coming to 5 to go, and time is running out for him to try and make a move. McMillan, meanwhile, pulling away from Fitzwater and Mahindra. He's definitely full afterburner right now, trying to catch these top 2. I don't think it's going to be enough, though.
Yeah, he's going to need a lot to do that, and it may not come to fruition for him. But he's going to give it his best, because that is what he does at Watkins Glen. It's his home track, after all. 5 laps to go from Watkins Glen. The gap out front, still about 3.5 tenths between these guys. Mark Davey is not about to let Devin Fair win this one without a big fight, like I've been saying. Like this 11 car, he's fought so hard to get to where he's at, and a win at Watkins Glen in his final attempt here, that would just be icing on the cake, really.
Yeah, and he did reel in the 5 a little bit. He, by about a tenth or so, He closed the gap a little bit. But yeah, McMillan, Fitzwater, Mahendra, they're closing the gap. I don't think it's going to be enough for them. It's definitely going to be a 2-horse race effectively for this win. They're coming to 4 to go. They're closing in on Denoto. I don't know if Denoto is going to be a factor in this, though. It's going to be close.
It all depends on how off pace that 77 really is. Because if he's off pace by as much as the 39 was, then they're going to catch him no problem. But if he's more on the level of what the 70 was at, it's going to be a little more touch and go. Well, we're coming up on 4 laps to go. Fair's starting to eke out a bit of a lead. Davy's starting to lose a little bit of touch. The gap now about 0.7 of a second as Fitzwater tries to make a move back on the 24 for 3rd place around the outside of turn 1.
You don't see that very often, and it's just about work for the Australian driver there. As they're still side by side as they enter the S's.
I think he's going to have to
get... going to have the preferred line, and McMillan just about cleared up. No. Now he does.
Now I think he's going to be clear. But that opens the door now for the 42 to stick his nose in as well. These 3, I think they've realized now that they're not going to catch the 2 leaders, and they're fighting for the final spot on the podium now.
Speaking of the top 2, I believe they're actually catching Denoto a lap. After I said I don't know if Denoto's going to be a factor. He's going to be a factor. It's just a matter of how much of a factor is he going to be, and whether or not both Fair and Davey can pass him cleanly. So, never know. Maybe McMillan, Fitzwater, and Mahendra do have a shot at this win after all. Depends on how well Fair and Davey can get around him.
We're going to find out, aren't we? We got 3 laps to go. Fair pulls out to try and make a move on the 77. This should be a fairly clean pass, and it is. The question is now, can Mark Davey follow him through? Into turn 1 we go. Fair ahead of the 11, and the 11 should be able to clear to 77 before he gets to the S's, and yes, he does.
All right, so not much trouble for the leaders, but throwing in extra driver hunger to try and score a podium, well, it's going to get juicy for that 3rd place spot. Just keep an eye on that, folks, as we continue to keep an eye on the leaders.
And keep in mind as well, Cale Tescar Jr. and Ben McDonnell are ahead of the leaders as well to go a lap down as well. They're not out of the woods yet, is all I'll say, for Devin Fair and Mark Davey, but they are still nose to tail. These guys have been battling for the race lead and the race victory ever since they cycled out of pit stops. And I'm a little surprised that Mark Davey has not fallen off more from the 51, considering his tires are about a lap older. But he's hanging in there. Maybe it's just pure adrenaline powering him through as we enter the final 2 laps of this race.
Could also be he also saved a little bit of his stuff up, trying to get more on par with what Fair has as well. We'll have to see, though, is Fair able to pull away from Davey down the front straightaway as we now reach 2 laps to go. McMillan, Fitzwater now around the 77 Denoto, and you'll have to expect Mahendra to be clear of the 77 as they reach the S's at the very least.
So they've dispatched them, no problem. 2 laps of racing to go. Well, 1 3/4 laps to go now. And Devin Fair has been pretty much in control of this race ever since he got the lead early on. But Mark Davey has been making it very much not easy for Fair to pull away as Fitzwater tries to make a move on McMillan again down the back straightaway. You saw it in the background. They're going to be side by side going into the bus stop. But the focus is on the battle for the win, at least for a moment, because Fitzwater is very hungry for a podium here.
Yeah, not able to get McMillan that time by, unfortunately. Now we look back at the leaders. This is as close as Davey's been down this straightaway the last few laps here.
Yeah,
but that was giving up.
Yeah, that was an opportunity. He didn't quite get there. He's going to have 1 more lap to try and make it happen. Through the final corner come Fair and Davey. Ben McDonnell is going to be lapped by the end of this race, I have a feeling. But the white flag flies. We got 1 more lap to go for Watkins Glen.
11 corners to go. Can Davey make the move here? We've seen the last lap pass earlier this season. Devin Fair was the one to pull it off, if I recall correctly.
On Mashburn at Hillside.
Yeah. Can it be done to Fair? This is as close as Davey's been all race long in the S's, at least in terms of, well, since the pit stops, I shouldn't say all the race long, but Fair able to get the power down a little bit sooner.
Yeah, he needs to
down the back straightaway they go.
He needs to gain a gap now so that he can fend off a challenge from Davey going into the penultimate corner. That's his best chance, and he is pulling that gap. Through the carousel they go for the final time.
Out of turn 9, who gets a better slingshot out of this corner? Looks like pretty even between the two. You're going to have McDonald getting away here.
Yeah, does Devin Fair think he's got a big enough gap over to Mark Davey to stick behind the 12? I think he's going to try and make the pass into the final corner. Even if he doesn't make it, I think the 11's too far back. Out of the final corner for the final time, Devin Fair is going to just barely hold off Mark Davey to get win number 2 on the season. Win number 10 of his one-up superstar career, and this is one he definitely had to earn. Mark Davey was on him that entire race. And Zachary Fitzwater just comes up short in his bid to dethrone Jake McMillan off the podium. For McMillan, that's his second consecutive third-place finish. He got such a result at Indianapolis, remember. Rasha Mahendra completes the top 5 for good measure. Finguy 6. We didn't really talk about the 92 that much today, but he had a good strategy call, and it got him up to P6. Pulsar DeLello, though, not quite what he was hoping for. Down in 7th. Dylan Young, in his final attempt at Watkins Glen, comes home 8th. Had a J.D. Martin. We didn't talk about much of him at all today, but he comes home 9th. And Cody Goforth just hangs on ahead of Patrick Smith for his first top 10 of the season. Well, that was an exciting day at Watkins Glen, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think another lap there, because I think Fair had a little bit of trouble trying to get around the 12, I believe that was. Yeah, it was 12. He had a little bit of trouble there. Mark Davey was definitely taking a look to make it 3 wide down in turn 1. Another lap, and I think Mark Davey probably would have won that race, potentially.
But we will get you some replays as well after this race, because there was a lot to unpack today, and involving a lot of cars. And we're going to get you some replays of those shots and those accidents in just a short while, because there was a lot to unpack here today. Looks like the first incident of the day starts right here with Stephen Gale going down into the braking zone on lap 2. He gets a hook from Aaron Hall, sends him down the track, back up into Emma Kruger. Logan Williams gets a piece, and that is where Stephen Hunter's damage came from, piled into the side of the 52. Liam Nolan gets a piece of it for good measure. Hunter really had nowhere to go. You cannot put that on him.
No, you can't, but person you can put that on, Stephen Gale. Looked like he was moving a little bit under braking in that braking zone. That's what got him hooked by the 07 of Aaron Hall. Obviously not the situation Hall wanted to be put in.
So Hunter was minding his own business back here. And he must have seen that out of his right side window, tried to go wide to possibly avoid it, and there was no avoiding that at the speed the 52 was coming up the track. But not the way the former champ wanted his return to go, not by a long shot.
Yeah, good heads-up driving by Julio Cesar. Yeah, he lost a lot of spots out of that, but he did not receive any damage. No contact with any other cars in that.
Yeah, it looks as though Henry Thomas is the one that got into Echo Evans Ross there, and Bobo just really got piled in. Sent the 39 up on its side there. Not sure what happened there, but Thomas was the one that sent Evans Ross into a slide, and for Bobo Jones, it was just a mess from that point forward. He had nowhere to go, really. You see it going down into turn 1. I think Thomas was trying to get a run on the 39, pulling down to the inside, coming out of the corner, and they just got hooked together. Not much Echo could do about that. And, oh man, Bobo just piled in. I don't know if he was aware the 39 was not going to move down the track, but it was his loss, and that took the 58 out of this race. Now this looks like where Cale Teskar Jr. got his incident damage from. Bobo tried to pull down in front of about 10 cars, and that was never going to work. And he just clipped the side of the 18 a little too much. I think that 58 is going to have to take a penalty for that one. Well, this is where Emma Kruger went off track, and man, there's had to have been some fluid down there where this took place, because I'm just telling you right now, this was a very brutal scene for a lot of guys who were running decently well. Miles Mashburn, Ben McDonald, Ryan Griffin, they were all doing decently well. Wrong place, wrong time, and wrong fluid on the racetrack.
Yeah, and here's where you had McDonald get underneath Donotto there, which really held up both drivers, and then Chase Chris just trying to get through. Just
wrong place, wrong time for him as well.
I don't even think he realized what was happening in front of him. He took no avoiding action there.
Or maybe he got some fluid on his tires and just had nowhere to go. I guess we'll never know the answer to that one. But that is what ended Chase Chris' evening at Watkins Glen, and that's a big shame for him. He had such a good day going, or potentially in the works for him. But Watkins Glen certainly had a lot of fun to be had for a lot of good teams and drivers, and Devin Fair was the one celebrating at the end of this one. But with that being said, from Jacob Crago and from myself as well, thanks for joining us for a great day at Watkins Glen. We'll see you again next week at the Vermont International Speedway, where the Superstar Series will do battle once again. That place is always famous for having a lot of action, and I hope this year is no different. But until we see it end, so long from Watkins Glen, and a big congratulations to Devin Fair. He proved to us once again that he is still the man to beat with a big win at Watkins Glen.